Oh boy, here we go again, this time season 2, let's fucking go. He had a dream again, about the mystery girl from his past. This season is about figuring out who it was, I guess. Last season, the last episode, he was sick, and now he's in a hospital. He has stage 4 cancer. And also his eye color changed for some reason, don't worry about it. Nino comes into his room and complains that they have to pay for his stay there, and then hides behind the curtain so it doesn't look like she came here first. And then the other sisters come by, and Yotsuba smells her out. This isn't a joke, this time she actually does. Miku tries to charm him, saying he can call whenever and she'll come by. She has grown since last season. Too bad he doesn't care and rejects that offer. But then he gets karate chopped by Ichika, who, by the way, didn't quit school after all. I guess the OnlyFans didn't really work out for her. She tries to act like she stayed because she likes Futaro, but we all know the truth. Miku asks him why he didn't eat anything and then tries to feed him. And she's really going in on the offensive, what the hell? Yotsuba finally finds Nino and drags everyone out of the room. Uesugi grabs his chest and finds out that he actually has other feelings than hatred and arousal. Later on, he meets up with the hospital's director, who asks him how his studies are going. He says fine, but I have to deal with 5 whole dumb fucking idiots. Can't stand him, honestly. I feel bad for the dad who has to raise them. He then leaves and finds them outside, and finds out that they really only came here to get vaccinated, and came to his room just because it was on the way, and that's gotta suck. He yells at them and gets shoved into his room, past the director's office, who says some cryptic shit like, "I expect great things from you," which jogs his memory, and he remembers that it's that girl's father. Interesting. He looks to his side and sees that girl, but it turns out he has schizophrenia, and it was just Itsuki. She asks him why he studies, but he doesn't want to tell her. They get into a staring contest, which they stop because some nurses thought they were making out. After that, we enter the mystical flashback realm with Futaro's old self, back when he was a gang leader. He does some bad boy shit, like call someone a nerd and steal and be creepy. He's jealous of this girl, who knows the nerd from childhood, I guess. They look like 10 years old, I don't know if I can call it that. Also, did they come here on their own? Did their parents not feel like the need to give them an adult to watch them over? What the fuck? Anyway, he left because he feels like they don't really like him, under the pretense of having to take a shit. He plays around a bit with his dad's camera, when this Karen comes by screaming that he got charmed by her beauty and took a sneak photo, and then the police come. He's just about to give up the camera, but then he remembers that he's being kind of a stalker and he shouldn't. However, she comes by. I don't know which one it is, so I'm just gonna refer to her as Quint from now on. I think she'll show up a few more times. And now we come back to the present. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. Itsuki says that meeting Quint must have helped him change, and asks him to help her change too. Her as in Itsuki, not Quint. He keeps thinking about her during their exchange and sees a lot of similarities between Itsuki and Quint. The way they talk, the stuff they talk about, but doesn't point it out. Instead, he asks her if there's really any point in helping her change, because her test average is 29.6. I'm gonna assume that's bad. My country goes by a different system. Itsuki then pulls out her lucky charm, not the cereal one. And Uesugi notices that it looks just like the one Quint bought. She bought a lot of them. She bought 5 of them. He asks where she bought them, but Itsuki doesn't remember if it was her or if it was a gift, but knows that they're all from Kyoto from 5 years ago. Interesting, because that's when and where he met Quint. He gets all the sisters and makes them wear their hair in the same way and stand in front of him. I'm surprised Nino listened. He apparently did it because when he walked in, he saw someone butt-ass naked, again, who got all zeros on scar exam, and tore the names off of it. He has an idea. The culprit called him a pervert, so he wants them all to do it. But they don't. Miku wants to strip down for him so he can see it wasn't her. And Ichika just starts trolling him that it was the 6th sister, Mutsumi, which Yotsuba believes. Also, I hear that fucking stock knockout sound effect. You ain't slick at him, I'm on to you. Nothing he tried worked, so he figured he can just make them do the test again, and the lowest score was the bad guy, which it turns out it was Ichika, as she says herself. But also, all of them failed. Itsuki, however, is onto his plan, that he thinks one of them was the Quint, and he tried to figure out which one. So I guess that confirms Itsuki isn't one of them, but they do like to do a bit of trolling. He does just bust it out though, and asks him to raise a hand if they met him a long time ago, but no one does. Fuck, maybe it was Mutsumi, who knows. Futaro hypes himself up for the upcoming finals, that they'll make it if nothing goes wrong. Could you guess what happens in the next scene? He dies. He keeps studying on overtime during the night, which, man, I feel you, I understand. He wants them all to pass this time, so he stayed up all night and made some problem sets for all of them, which seems a bit unnecessary, but not my problem. Itsuki and Futaro walk in on Nino and Miku being equally annoying. It's gonna be their whole shtick for quite a while. Yotsuba tells Uesugi to get them in a good mood so they get along together, so he tries to compliment them, and just fails miserably, which results in another argument between these two about who cares, honestly. Ichika tells him to instead be the common enemy, so they band together to piss him off. So he just roasts him to oblivion, like, "Oh ya fucktards, the zeros in your score be looking like your bitch count! Get your shit together!" Nino can't take such insults and just leaves. Futaro goes after her and tells her that, hey, you're pretty late to this whole studying thing, you might wanna not miss out, but she starts yapping about him being an outsider and not having real problems. Miku tries to give her the problem sets, but Nino slaps it out of her hand. Ichika and Futaro try to de-escalate the situation, but Miku doesn't take people's shit anymore and drives it forward. Nino rips the papers and Miku is about to throw hands, but she gets interrupted by Itsuki bitch slapping Nino first, who does return the favor. This shit is fucking epic. I love this. This is all I ever wanted. Let me play it again. Okay, one more time. Turns out Futaro wrote all of this stuff by hand, which, like, goddamn man, the wrist pain. They all start molding and arguing about everything that's going on, and Nino says she's gonna move out. Then she tells Itsuki to stop trying to act like their dead mother. And then she actually does leave the house, and then Itsuki leaves as well? What the fuck? This anime is getting good? Futaro and Miku try to find Nino. They walk about 10 steps and start dying, so instead they just use cheat codes. And find out Nino is staying at a hotel, and just walk inside of her room. She gets emotional about how everything is Futaro's fault and kicks them out. He tries to stop her, but she only takes back the bracelet from Kintaro, and forces him out again. Futaro goes back to his place, thinking about what to do with the Nino incident. No, why are you here? Go away! They let her stay here for an unspecified amount of time, I guess until Nino gets back, which makes both Itsuki and Futaro quite uncomfortable. She's trying so hard to not call them poor. The dad left for work and Raika talked them into sleeping together somehow, so now they're here. However, neither Futaro or Itsuki are sleeping, and they do have stuff to talk about, so they go on a walk. Itsuki just begs Futaro to let her stay until Nino apologizes, and Futaro asks her to kindly fuck off. Well, not that kindly to be fair, but apparently the sisters used to be pretty poor as well, before their mother married their dad, so gold digger basically. And ever since their mother died, Itsuki tried fulfilling that role to the others. And this fucking Giga Brain hears that and tells her he's gonna play the father, even though they already have one, though I guess he's not really present. And that the reason he studies is that back when he met the Quint, he decided that he's gonna become a person that someone needs. Next day they go to school, and when he tries talking to Itsuki, she just goes, "Don't talk to me, peasant, you are filthy and poor, how dare you!" At school he finds Yosuba, but she gets away from him, and when he tries to follow her, and then he finds Nino, who just completely ignores him and goes back to the hotel. After that, he experiences a mental breakdown, thinking about all the sisters and what he went through with them, that maybe he is the problem, and that he should just stop. But he sees Quint standing right next to him, and then there's a splash sound effect. I think he just tried to body slam her. He tries to go to Nino once again, and she finally lets him in after seeing him all wet. I don't know why she feels the need to accompany him when she's taking a shower. I guess they just like doing this, it's not the first time. They talk about some random unnecessary stuff, which is weird for them. They're talking like normal people. She asks him what the fuck happened that he was so wet and depressed, so he tells her about meeting Quint at the park. She took him on a boat to talk about how he's doing now. She heard that he became a study maniac and is touring a few people, but is strangely avoiding his questions of who did she hear it from. It also appears like she's only asking him questions relating to the sisters. Futaro calls them all kinda stupid, which seems to offend Rena, as she called herself. She tries to cheer him on using the same words Itsuki said, but he just declines that. She then says she's gonna get out of his life and will never see him again, and then throws him the lucky charm from before. He tries to chase after her, but falls in the water, and hears her say goodbye. Alright, so who do you think it was? My vote goes to Itsuki, because obviously. And also, I don't believe that it was the actual Quint from his flashbacks, just her pretending. That story makes Nino cry, and she feels bad for him. She says that she's sure there's at least one person on Earth that would fall for an asshole like him, and then remembers that he's kinda naked. Whilst trying to run away from him, she knocks over a bag that has the same problems as he made for them, but finished. She says she feels bad for acting this way earlier and apologizes to him, but Itsuki can still go suck a dick. Next day, Uesugi comes back to Nino's place and rants about Itsuki being annoying, but Nino is annoyed about him being there. Futaro starts talking about Quint, or Rena, and that he doesn't know why she appeared there, but he knows that she taught him a lesson. You can't change the fact that people change, and tells Nino she should accept that and go home. However, she doesn't want to do that. For her, life used to be much easier in the past, when they were basically one person split into 5. But it all changed 5 years ago. Everyone became a person of their own, and she feels left behind. She can't let go of what they used to be, so she's trying to force herself out of the possibility of it coming back. This is why she doesn't want to go back to the others. She also says that her only real regret is not getting to say goodbye to Kintaro from school camp. And that she wants to meet him again. Futaro, for some reason, decides to hook her up with him. Though, you know, he's not really intelligent. A few increments of time later, he reappears as his alter ego. There are 2 ways he can go about this. Either play along until she gets over him, or reveal the truth. He tries to do that after Nino's very suspicious way of delivering this question, but doesn't get to because of Nino stopping him and giving him the bracelet, so he decides to play along. They do some home date stuff together, like baking, but when Kintaro steps up to help her, she leaves to the balcony and calls Futaro all hyped up about it, and asks him for advice on what to make. And then, when she presents that idea to him, he confirms that it is indeed a good idea. This shit is so goofy, man, I love it. Funkitaro almost blows his cover by saying stuff that he shouldn't yet know, but fixes it under the lie of being told that information. Nino finishes baking the cream puffs, and there is a lot of them, so Kintaro says they should call her sisters over to help with eating, which Nino doesn't take lightly. She doesn't want them to be there, we established that already. She also notices that this is the exact same thing that Futaro keeps saying, and they are really similar, except he always talks about studying and exams. And then Uesugi explodes and says that, hey, fuck you, it's not everything I talk about, I just want you to all behave like actual siblings for once. And then she realizes. He tries to tell her, but she leaves under the lie of having to use the bathroom. She then calls Futaro and asks him if he's near the hotel, and to come to the cafe. He runs down there without the costume, and when he gets there, all sweaty and thirsty, she tells him to drink the iced tea. There's nothing in it, I swear! She tries to tell him all the bullshit talk, like, hey, I think he wants to ask me out, or thank you for letting me see him. She reaches her hand out to him, and when he takes it, she grabs him by the arm, and reveals the bracelet he still had on him. And right that second, the sleeping drugs activated and made him lose consciousness. When he regained it, Nino has already checked out of the hotel, and left someplace else. Oh yeah, and there's something going on with Yotsuba and her sports club. They keep cutting back to this, I'll talk about it in a second. But first, he wakes up Itsuki, nice bedhead, and they venture out to school, and find out that Nino isn't there, and she isn't in contact with anyone. She legit just disappears. Witness protection isn't this good, man. Alright, back to Yotsuba. You look like you were drawn for a completely different anime, Miss Unnamed Character. Why do you look like a child? Anyway, she's lusting over Yotsuba's physical abilities, when Uesugi comes by and calls Yotsuba paraplegic. He's also about to throw hands with her because she said the upcoming exams aren't that important, but Yotsuba stops him. Itsuki asks if she isn't by chance overworking herself, but her being a people pleaser lies and says she isn't. So Futaro decides to join her for practice, and also questions her on the exam shit in the middle of the run. After the shenanigans, the unnamed character decides that they're all going to practice camp this weekend, even though they were supposed to take the weekend off. Now you really do look like you were drawn for something else. Like, look at this shot. Am I going fucking crazy? Why do you look so weird? Alright, schizo time over. Yotsuba is depressed. She doesn't know what to do, whether to tell Futaro she can study with the others or not, and then Ichika comes by to try and help out. But like that's just the Monogatari toothbrush scene? That is stealing. Yotsuba asks Ichika if she can leave the sports club, but then backs out because she's scared of making problems for them and leaves. And Ichika reveals that Futaro had been listening to that entire conversation. They're gonna go to the sports club and try to get her kicked out, I guess. And then Miku waltzes into Nino's next hiding place somehow. Futaro, Ichika, and Itsuki go to stop Yotsuba from going to the training camp. However, they notice a severe lack of Miku by their side, so Ichika goes to look for her. Futaro gets an idea that they should make Miku pretend to be Yotsuba and then tell them she's quitting. But before they get to do that, the fellas downstairs begin to leave, and Futaro just kinda stares at Itsuki ominously. And then we cut to Miku and Nino becoming British. Nino asks Miku how she even found her, and Miku answers that she just saw her walk out of the hotel. I guess she just followed her there, which makes sense actually. She asks Nino what she was doing with Futaro, and she does say what happened, but in a very Nino way. She does eventually say that Futaro told her that he wants them to not act like total pieces of shit to each other. That gets them back on the topic of, Nino, fucking come back home! Nino doesn't want to do that because they're oh so different. What's the point of sticking together? And Miku tells her that now, instead of being 5 of the same person, they're more like 1 split into 5, and that they should stay close but live their life a little different from one another. And also, she was on the kitchen duty ever since Nino left, and now they're dying from food poisoning. They also drink the tea of the other person, neither of them like it, I guess it's some symbolism. They argue about which is better and which uses better leaves, and then they find out that they use the same ones. They laugh about it, and Nino pulls out some scissors and threatens Miku with them. And then we're back to Futaro. He dressed Itsuki like Yotsuba, and keep in mind she's bad at pretending to be the others. He yells grope her as loud as he can, and starts running away to weed the actual Yotsuba away from everyone. Itsuki walks up to the sports people and tries to leave the group as Yotsuba, but it obviously doesn't work, they just see right through her. In the meantime, actual Yotsuba catches Futaro. She finds out what they were trying to do and goes back, and like, nah, you look out of place, you don't belong in this show. Like, this has to be a different art style, right? Why do you look like this? Anyway, Yotsuba says this whole thing was just a joke, and the coach calls it not funny. So Yotsuba is like, you filthy fucking piece of shit, I will end you! And quits right there. Unfortunately, it wasn't the real Yotsuba. It wasn't Ichika either, who just got back. Futaro thanks the gods for Miku's acting skill, however she is also right there. So he's like, pardon the fuck? And then the mysterious sister and Itsuki come by, and reveal that the whole scissor thing was Nino cutting her hair, and it was her who did the threatening. That was like a complete 180, she just completely changes after this. Like smiling and apologizing and shit. Well, she's still a bitch to Futaro, but he deserves it, so it's fine. They bought each other tickets for a movie they wanted to see, which is a callback to something that isn't really important, so don't worry about it. Anyway, they're all finally back home. She finally left, let's go. They finished their problem sets, but they don't feel like they actually improved. So Futaro tells them to cheat. They don't want to, because it would make all the time and effort they put in irrelevant, so he tells them to get their shit together and study properly. And Nino even agrees to do it. And in that moment, Futaro realizes he did what no man could before. He fixed them. He is him. Next day is the exam day, and they go there and hype themselves up, like hell yeah, we're gonna do this! And then they get to the results and they are not good. They hear a doorbell sound, and Itsuki goes to open the doors for Futaro, but it turns out to just be him. The sister's like, butler, I don't fucking know, I've never seen it before. The point is, he is here to replace Futaro because he quit. And they're all like, what? Nino thinks it's because of their father, you know, the thing from 1 season ago, but apparently no, he wanted to quit. But he did also get banned from ever stepping foot in this house again by the father. And now they're just kinda imprisoned here until he teaches them enough. This can't be illegal. Anyway, he gives them some questions to answer. Nice teaching you're doing there, bud. And they can't help but think that they're kinda easy, and that they can only solve them because of Futaro. However, it is taking a long ass time, and they want to leave to go look for him. So they decide to look at the cheat sheets he made for them, and discover an ARG-like thing, where he basically says, "Fuck you all. I ain't dealing with this shit no more. Loved you anyway. See ya." They begin to cry after him because they weren't ready for this. He wasn't just a tutor, he was a friend of theirs, even from the start. Ichika comes up with an idea and asks the butler for help. A lot of time passes by of them studying and getting grades, until one day, in winter, they find him trying to sell sweets. They want to order a cake as a pretense to get to talk to him, and the absolute wingman boss gives it to him instantly to deliver it to their home. On the way there, they stop and show him the new tutor, who looks like he belongs in an NTR doujin. Nino gets angry at him for just leaving them without a word, and that he's selfish for doing so. He tries yapping about not being allowed back to their house, but Ichika rented the place right next to them, so that argument doesn't hold. Yotsuba throws their old apartment keys into the river, and when Futaro jumps in to catch them, he gets a flashback of what he went through with them, and when he gets out of it, he sees that they all followed him into the river, and then they all drown. No, but actually Nino does have some problems, and he has to physically take her out of there, and that's how she gets a crush on him. He also decided to stop being a pussy and goes back to teaching them. After a break for the opening, the sisters invite Futaro and Raika to their new home, and like, Raika just calls them broke, which is funny as hell. I'm surprised Itsuki didn't sucker punch her because of that. You know, speaking of which, they are all surprisingly welcoming. Nino tells Futaro to get under the blanket table, Ichika wants to give him a massage with a happy ending, and then they all join in. They keep saying stuff like, "Oh, you work so hard, you're so nice, I made you some food, also I have a favor to ask." "No, shut the fuck up, not yet!" And then they go to the next room and you find out what's going on. They are not paying him anymore. That is fucked up, man. They do feel bad though, and they want to pay him back somehow, they just don't have the money no more. So they start brainstorming. I swear to god I didn't edit that in. And did they keep playing into this? What the fuck? Man, this season 2 stuff is great, I love it. Ichika opens the door and finds Futaro really close to her face, who tells her not to move. She thinks he's gonna kiss her, but no. He and Raika are playing a... I don't know what the fuck that is actually, it looks terrifying. Anyway, he needed to confirm how her mouth looks like for this thing. Yotsuba runs in to join them with the game, but... What? What? That is how he finds out that they're not paying him anymore. He's chill with it for now, but he is gonna keep count and the interest is gonna get crazy over time, so they are fucked. Raika leaves to not get in the way of them studying, because the romance anime is finally getting into the romance stuff. Ichika keeps falling asleep, so Futaro tries to wake her up, but Nino tells him to let her rest, as she's been working overtime to make all of this possible. She's paying for everything. Itsuki then suggests they should all find a job, and they do a little showing off of who should work where. And they tell Nino to be a dominatrix. Why is this show funny now? I am not used to this. Going back, it is revealed that Nino always dreamed of opening a pastry shop, and then dreams of having one with Futaro, and then she pukes. Futaro tells them that none of them can handle having an actual job, and should just focus on studying. What the fuck are you doing? And then they kick him out because of this? I call injustice. Next day, Itsuki is browsing job offers when her father calls her. And then, you wouldn't guess it, we cut away from that to Futaro, who tried making cake for his job in a pastry shop. It was bad though, so he won't be getting a raise. Matter of fact, it was so bad it got him fired. Not really, they're just closing early because they rented the shop out for a movie shoot. And yes, Ichika is here because of it. They have a very intentionally cringy script for the movie. It's not really that important. The point, however, is this scene. The only reason Ichika took this cringy-ass script is because they're running out of money. Futaro tells her that maybe she should find a job that pays more and is easier, but then notices that her acting skills keep getting better. And then you get this gem of a scene, where she pretends to fall asleep on his arm. Okay, now it's Nino's turn for romance. They take him out to the shop to buy groceries, and a lot of chocolate. They keep throwing this bag of rice between each other, and eventually Yotsuba body slams Nino with it, and Futaro catches it, which makes her think about the possibility of them getting together, but she keeps denying it. On their way home, they see Itsuki and their father in a restaurant nearby. He orders every sandwich they have, he's the math problem guy, and second, why does he look like this? Like he's simultaneously on cocaine and 50 hours of no sleep. He also calls Itsuki a good girl, which like... He tells Itsuki to go back home with her sisters, and that he hates Futaro. Itsuki obviously doesn't want to, so he proposes a deal. He let him come back and teach them, but only as a support for a professional tutor. He asks her if she thinks Yotsuba could pass the grade with his help, and, well, he's kinda right about that, it wasn't looking too good. However, Yotsuba goes out to him, and she tells him that she can do it, and that all 6 of them can. The father says that they can do that, but if they fail, he will have them change schools as a 3rd year. He expected them to go back to him, but instead Itsuki takes that deal, and tells him to go suck a dick, but in an attempt to sound polite. He does agree to that, and gives them one last chance. After a few recap sentiments, they finally go on with the story. Miku has some weird thing going on with chocolate. She keeps feeding him it to the point of nosebleeds. I have no idea how these correlate, just stick with it. She's trying to learn how to bake to buy herself a way into his heart, and Ichika has just the right person to teach her. Next day, Futaro is about to start teaching. However, Itsuki stopped existing during the night. Turns out she visits her mother grave every month on the 14th, like a monthly anniversary of her death. There she meets this person, who refers to her as teacher. She was actually a student of Itsuki's mother, and she mistook Itsuki for her, and to apologize, she's going to pay for anything she orders. Itsuki asks what her mother was like as a teacher, and apparently she was the hot MILF teacher everyone had a crush on. But everyone also liked her just because she was a good teacher. That makes Itsuki almost decide on wanting to become a teacher. However, this person, Shimoda is her name apparently, tells her not to be so quick, and to not do something just because her mother used to do the same, and that she should have her own reasons to become a teacher. And then a fadeaway cut to Miku's poor cooking skills. Turns out, Ichika's evil plot was to have Nino teach Miku how to bake, and she is watching them from outside the window. But Futaro came from nowhere to screw things up, so she has to take him away. Nino calls Miku's thing that she made shit, which made her cry, so she tried to apologize. Miku explains that she wants to learn how to cook to wife Futaro up, and asks Nino to help her. And surprisingly, she just immediately goes with it. Ichika and Futaro are buying a notebook for Yotsuba. She lied that she threw it out to get him away from Miku and Nino, and now they're just kind of wasting money. However, she notices Futaro holding a book. She thinks that it's some kind of porn, but it's just a guidebook to teaching, and she teases him about it. When they're done, she imagines her life as a sugar mommy for him, and then they go home, with a bit of unintentional flirting on the side. There they study, or rather, suffer. They've been doing this for days, for multiple hours, and they simply can't handle it anymore. And then Futaro experiences an epiphany. He reads that taking a break is in fact a good thing and helps with studying. So he takes them to Disneyland. Ichika and Itsuki have some fun, Miku and Nino coexist, and Yotsuba takes off to a Ferris wheel to hide from them and study some more. However, Futaro notices it and follows her. They talk about the reasons the sisters swapped schools, and it's because Yotsuba failed an exam and was forced to transfer, and then the others followed her. She feels bad and is trying her damn hardest. She's trying so hard actually that she managed to figure out an assignment in Japanese that every other sister hasn't, and because of that he has yet another eureka moment, that since all of them are a bit better in a different subject, he can make them help the others. So he's not the only one working. I love this scene because all of this is so fucking obvious, and yet I also didn't think of that until this very moment. Maybe I am stupid actually. Some time passed and it's the 14th again, so Itsuki is doing the thing. Futaro appears behind her and they have a little chat about how his idea was good and it works. Itsuki realizes that she likes teaching other people because of the selfish gain of being thanked. You truly are evil, Itsuki. You sicken me. Next day, Miku comes out of her lair and sees Futaro and Itsuki just kinda chillin', bleeding and stuff. He ate the chocolates she made and liked them, blah blah blah, who cares. She got the highest score from the exam he made them do, which is quite impressive honestly. Miku, however, realizes that Futaro doesn't see them as women, as possible partners. So, she tells Ichika that she will do her best on the upcoming exam, and confess to him. But this time she will actually do it. Ichika doesn't show it, but she is bothered by it since she also likes him, but she doesn't want to hurt Miku. Later, after the exams, they reveal their scores. All of them passed, with Yotsuba scoring 184 points, Itsuki having 224, Nino with 209, but she ain't here at the moment, Miku getting 238 points, and Ichika with 240. Miku fucking had a heart attack when she heard that, because right before Ichika's score, he told Miku that she had the most potential, and because of that she didn't get to tell him her feelings. And then Futaro left to go get Nino so they can all celebrate. Well, would you look at that, it was episode 6. Wow, so cool, so amazing. Holy shit, this video is long. Next one should come out faster than this one. Have yourself a day, and goodbye.